Hi everyone, I am Lady Stars on Fire. My real name is Michelle Espinosa, and this is the weekly healing messages for March. Wow, we're already in March. March 5th through the 12th. This year is already flying by so quickly for me. It's just amazing in my mind. I'm just like, how do we get here so fast? Anyway, we are now in March. It's the third month of the year. Right there speaks to you a lot. It speaks to you of the number 3. You've now moved through the number 2 of February, where the major amounts of shadow is coming through. And now we're starting to work through moving into the number 3. So we're moving back into a harmonious way, because last month was about starting to create harmony by finding where harmony was not. Okay, so we're automatically taking a major shift with that full moon that came in on the 1st. Right there was your major shift. And this energy is going to continue to be blowing out that negative energy so that we can start to move forward. Now, I always give you a little bit of astrology, a little bit of runes, and what Spirit gave me. First off, I will give you the animal guide I'm given for the week is the wolf. And it's important because what Spirit actually gives me to tell you doesn't make the wolf sound small, but it makes, when you add the wolf's animal instinct and the wolf's spirit totems and power and everything to it, it heightens that energy so that you can have a deeper understanding. Because what the wolf shows me is the wolf is more or less sniffing out its path. And then when we go back and we hear what Spirit has to say, and you put the wolf energy behind it, it's going to help move that in such a more powerful way. Because Spirit has a way of putting things sometimes. I didn't make the video on Sunday because I was having kind of an inner battle with Spirit about figuring out what in the world I was supposed to be saying. Because I knew what they were giving me, but I wasn't comprehending it. And it took the day for me to figure it out before I could make this video. And that's because it had to do with grounding, but in a whole way that makes complete sense that I never put before, because it's not just grounding, it's a blessing. And the question is, why aren't you blessing your feet? And the reason why is the way that they explained it, and I'm going to try to make this understandable to you, is why aren't we blessing our feet? Our feet are what carry us everywhere we go. Period. Any place you walk to, any place you visit, any place that you go, your feet walk you there. Your knees are what hold you up and balance you and carry you there. So those two are very important things. And why aren't we blessing them? We think of blessing our life, but we're not thinking of blessing parts of our body. And what Spirit is explaining to me is it has to do with working with the universal energies. It has to do with working with Earth, Mother Earth, the creation of how that energy manifests. And if you're not working with the universal energies and you're not working with Earth energies, then in a form, you're cursing yourself instead of blessing yourself. And you need to be working with them in order for that manifestation to grow and prosper, basically. So they're saying, why aren't you blessing your feet? Your feet take you everywhere you need to go, and it comes down to being in the right place at the right time. Are you working with the universe at placing your feet where they need to be at the right place at the right time? Now, the reason I'm putting it this way is because what Spirit gave me and what threw me so off was they were showing me the ideas of, like in the Bible story, they were showing the ideas of Moses and the Red Sea being parted. Well, if you're not in the right place at the right time, if Moses didn't lead his people in the right place by following to get where he had to get, where the earth could separate, because of the divine energies, to put you in the right place at the right time, you would not have, not you, but the Israelites, and according to the story, would not have made it through the Red Sea when the Red Sea parted, because when it came back together, when the seas came back together, it took out the Egyptians, according to the story. The point is if you want to be blessed with the manifestation that you're trying to create, you need to work with the universal energies. You need to work with placing yourself in the right place at the right time, so that the two can come together and actually be created for you. So why aren't you blessing your feet to put you in the proper places, to put you in the proper directions? If you know that you shouldn't be going somewhere, I mean, come on, we've all had those times when something's just telling us, nah, I don't want to be going that direction. So why are you going that direction? Is what I'm trying to get at. If something's telling you I shouldn't be doing this, and like your feet just seem to want to stumble off and go the other way, maybe there's a reason. That has to do with grounding. That also has to do in a different way of what we think of. We think of grounding ourselves in, being able to stand firm and tall and rooting ourselves in. But if we're rooting ourselves in, what are we rooting it to? We're supposed to be rooting it to the earth. So we have that connection with part of the divine source. So why aren't you blessing it with the divine source's help? This is what I'm trying to get at. You have to bless your feet to move you in the right directions so that you can work with the universal energies. Just like even in the Bible, the feet were anointed quite oftenly. Just helping you get back on the right path is what I'm being told. Like I said, I'm being shown the Red Seas being parted, and either you're in the right place at the right time or you're not. And if you're not, that's your own free will choice by not putting yourself where you're supposed to be. End of discussion. Now, that also speaks to us, though, on the feet energy. It speaks to us not just of the pulling or the drawing of the energy, but it speaks to us of the proper directions: north, east, west, south. If you know your directions, that might be giving you answers when you feel your feet buzzing according to different directions that you may be going. It's also the universe's way of helping you figure out that information. Now, before I move into the astrology for this week, I'm going to give you the runes, but there's actually a lot of runes this week. So I'm just going to kind of run through them and then jump into the astrology. Because the idea of the runes, from what I'm understanding, is Othal is the objective here. This is where we're trying to get to. We're trying to get to Othal and understand it better, have a deeper sense of the rune of Othal and what it means as we work through this week's energies. That's the whole goal here. We are being given Nathis. Nathis speaks to us of karmic obstacles and warming the cold from within, trying to overcome it. Basically, we are given Alges. Alges speaks to us of yourself as the channel, and realizing within the self being the channel is also the divine connection for spirit and protection. Then we are given Isa. Isa speaks to us, period, of self-mastery. Next, we are given Manaz. Manaz speaks to us of our self-realization within our daily, everyday tasks, and where that also has a belonging to the divine energy, and where our energy is supposed to belong within that. All of that is bringing us back to Othal, which is giving us a better sense of the bigger picture. I always say it's not seeing off the picture. It's not seeing the picture on the inside. It's seeing the frame and the whole wall. It's seeing the entire truth. Not just the small parts you want to see, but the big picture is what Othal is speaking to us of. Othal is understanding the true understanding of sacred space, the truth behind it, as well as the intelligence of leading it in the right direction, which speaks to us of remembering also, this is your home. Inside here, your heart, your soul, your desires, your soul is in here. And nobody can take that from you unless you cheapened it by not knowing your own worth and giving it away. And if you did, so what? I don't want to say shame on you. So what? If you did, if you screwed up, who hasn't screwed up in the past? It's just time to reclaim that power and put it back into proper use. It's not that what you may have done if you gave away your power was a good thing. Of course it wasn't. But sometimes we have to learn by screwing up and realizing where we made those mistakes so that we can not make them again. It also has to deal with learning boundaries, love. Now, like I said, as we move into this week, let me just say everything this week in astrology, you might as well just be looking at Pisces and Aries, period. I mean, everything else has its important parts, and I don't care where it is. Every person's astrology is a little bit different. When we do individual astrologies, like if I was doing your astrology by yourself, your personal astrology, I would place your houses where they are and explain to you exactly what they mean. But on a universal level, Pisces is the 12th house. Aries is the 1st house. So I don't care. Some way or another, it is an ending of one thing and a beginning of a new thing. Even if I don't have your proper houses right, because I'm doing this on a universal level, that is what Pisces is. Pisces is basically the lifting of the denials, and where the denial and the magic and the healing all come together. Basically, it's where it can either start a new cycle fresh or start a new cycle all over again because you did not learn. So in some form or another, a new cycle is beginning. And I'm saying this because you've got Mercury and Venus both jumping into Aries this week, a day apart. On the 6th and the 7th, they both are moving in. So sensitives, you might be noticing this energy a day before and a day after. So basically the 5th through the 8th, you might be feeling a little, because you're noticing these planets shift. And like I said, they're moving from an end cycle into a new cycle. Even if the cycle is a reoccurring cycle, they are still starting a new cycle. And that energy is going to bring about a lot of energy itself. Now, like I said, in your in the universal houses, that's the end of the cycle and beginning of a cycle. It may not necessarily be the same for you directly. If this was taking place in your, 5th house, then this is speaking to a new level of your creativity, basically. But it still has that universal energy backing it up. So in some form or another, you're going to be feeling it within that energy of the cycles returning or starting over. Now, you have the moon. I'm telling you right now, the moon is challenging just about everything this week in Pisces and Aries. So you have what mainly you're going to be noticing this week is Chiron, and they are telling me on a physical level, you are going to be noticing where Chiron is going to be trying to make changes or healings within your life. And it's about trying to grow. It's about trying to mature. It's about trying to spiritually heal and move forward. But it's going to be taking place in a physical level in some forth, because they're showing me Chiron directly in green, which that is just part of the way my sign works for this. But you also have Mercury and Venus, like I said, going from Pisces and into Aries. So you're having the moon, which is the emotional one. The moon is where your depths of your emotion and your physical life take place. And they are talking to Chiron, which is not coming out of Pisces. So it's still going to be there. The wounded healer itself is still in Pisces in the end of that cycle. And it's still speaking to you of nostalgia, still speaking to you of the denials and the depths of them, as well as magic. And are you recreating it fresh and new for the new cycle to start? So are you healing and recreating into a new, more higher vibrational being because you've healed and you've learned and you've moved forward? Or are you refusing to heal and you're forcing that cycle to repeat again basically. And Chiron is going to be hitting you with some energy this week. And the moon is going to be questioning it all week long as it moves through, through Libra, through Scorpio, through Capricorn. I mean, it moves right on up. It's going to be sending out those energies all week to both Pisces and Aries. So it's going to be also challenging those new beginnings of those new cycles that are starting with Mercury's communication in Aries, as well as Venus's senses. Like I said, this is going to be two senses coming together, because I always say Venus is not about love. She can charm her way into love. She can show you how to possibly going about creating such a thing. But Venus is not about love. Venus is about telling you what you like and why you like it and how to get more of what you like, or showing you what you don't like, why you don't like it, because it hurts you, and how to stay away from it. Is the way I see Venus. And she's speaking to the moon in the universal first house of Aries, where the new beginnings start, where the new fires and the aggressions and the actions start to take place. With the communication of Mercury moving in there with her. They're both moving into that sign. And don't forget, on the other side of that sign is Uranus. And Uranus is still on its topsy-turvy level, because it's about to shift into Taurus in a few months. So it's definitely backing up that energy right now as they move in, because Uranus has its own attitude and own personality going on that's going to fuel that sign of Aries no matter what. Okay? Because it's got to make sure it gets its lessons in before it moves to Taurus. I've only been talking about this for over a year. Uranus only has one time. It will be moving in May. So it only has more or less a month and a half, 2 months before it makes that change. And it's going to be hitting you. Your independence, your individuality, your uniqueness, your freedom, and your inventive self is going to be speaking right now, especially with that Mercury and that Venus energy, of how to make that energy come out. But right now, it's speaking to you of the energies that you haven't learned while it was there. And the reason this is such an important thing is because, like I said, Uranus, by the time it goes through the whole chart, it won't be back to Aries for 65 to 70 years. If you don't learn these lessons right now, you won't. Okay? That's period. If you don't learn these lessons right now about your independence, your individuality, your uniqueness, your freedom, how to create it, how to create yourself the way you truly want to be, but to honestly see yourself for who and what you are. If you don't learn these things right now, you're not going to. Because once it moves into Taurus, it's going to take on a whole new energy. And you only have until May, I think it is, to get these lessons learned. And right now, as these other planets start traveling through, it's going to be very important to dominate those energies with that knowledge right now, to make sure that you gathered it. Anyway, like I said, back to like I was speaking about, the moon is your emotional waters. It's your emotional depths. It's also your physical depths. Speaking to both Pisces, the ending with Chiron, like I said, the denials, the healing, and the magic, basically, is right there in Chiron. And then it's also Juno, about the commitment. And it's also speaking to you about Venus and Mercury moving into Aries, those brand new beginnings, those brand new cycles, and the fire and aggression and action it's going to take to start to create them. And the moon is going to question that sensitivity, basically. It's going to question that sensitivity. You've got to really soul search in this one. Now, I'm going to hit you with the challenges because I feel that they're more important this week. There are a lot of positive energies, not as many challenges, but I'm going to slam you with them first. The challenges, again, is Pisces and Aries. It's Mercury, Venus, as they move from Pisces to Aries and then go into Chiron. These energies alone, even though they are still in different, just on the edges, it's like on the cusp of Pisces and Aries as they split, they are squaring Sagittarius, the 9th house universally, with Vesta and Mars. Right there is again getting into your passion, your aggression, your fire. is where your warrior sets in, and your warrior is sitting in that universal ninth house right now of Sagittarius, which is on fire anyway. It is where the wildfire spreads, but it is also where we speak of our philosophy, our religion, our higher self. I always say the ninth house speaks to our higher self, of what it is we truly are and what we want to be and how we truly must see it. But we have to work through that philosophy and religious parts of understanding how to get there, because it's also where the psychic energy is. And that speaks to us of Jupiter is also a ruler of that. So Jupiter also is bringing in the abundance and the higher knowledge behind that understanding of what your higher self is trying to teach you, bouncing that back to your higher self, trying to teach you what you need to know of the passion, the aggression, the fire, the within you that needs to be there to make it possible for that first house and that 12th house to end and the first house to begin. Basically on a universal level, for that shift to start, so that the Mercury, the communication, can be able to be projected outward positively, as well as Venus. But you want that Chiron energy to be getting the healing it needs, because otherwise it's just going to create a cycle that you're redoing. And you don't want to, this isn't redo. This is not redo time. We're not in Mercury retrograde yet. This is not redo time. We want to learn. We want to move forward. We want to heal. You also have Pisces and Aries and Mercury, Venus and Chiron as they shift. Is also speaking to Saturn. Saturn about your rules and your boundaries. And this is within your community. Technically, it can be your career area, because on a universal level, that would be your career and your goals. But it just also speaks to us of our outer community in general, because I'm speaking on a universal level. And as we end the week, because like I said, your Saturn is speaking to your Mercury, your Venus, your Pisces, and your Aries, the end and the beginning, about the rules, your walls, and your boundaries. And are they set? Why are they set? Are they set correctly? And if not, why? Again, how do we set these rules and boundaries? And as we come near the end of the week, Lilith is going to challenge that energy about making that shift from Pisces to Aries with that Mercury and that Venus, that sensitivity, that communication. And even though Chiron ain't there anymore, Chiron is still going to be influencing that. Okay, and Lilith is going to be speaking to that in a challenging way of what I don't want to. Because that's what Lilith is going to be giving you, is I don't want to. And that's what that's going to come down to. Now, you also have Make, which is your collective consciousness. Maki. Hold on, I had to get my book out here to make sure I'm right. No, Maki is considered the lotus flower. It is the one that is speaking to us of overcoming how the lotus flower grows. And it is in Libra right now. And it is in opposition of that energy happening in Aries and Mercury. Aries, Mercury, and Venus, as that beginning starts, that new cycle, that new fire, aggression, and action. Maki and Libra is asking you to create the proper balance, is to create the harmony that is needed, asking you on an honest, soulful level, where are you on the lotus flower's growth? The lotus flower is a spiritual flower. It grows from within the swamp, from in the murky, nasty, dirty, stinky swamp. And it blooms up out of that nasty water, and then it becomes the most beautiful flower. So are you still in the swamp of your own personal shit? Or are you starting to break through and come into the water? Or are you starting to bloom? And if you're not blooming, and if you're not breaking through into the healthy air, why aren't you? Is the question. Because that is what Maki, or make, however you want to pronounce it, in that 7th house of your relationships. And everything is a relationship to you. It is not just your friends, your family, your children, your parents. It is also your working environment. You have a relationship with your car. If your car will not get you to work, you know about that relationship. If you get no money, if you didn't get paid, you know about your relationship with no money. When those bills can't get paid, you know about that relationship. Everything you care about is a relationship. So in a sense, that communication of where are you not out of the swamp of shit that you knew yourself to have been in? Why are you not blooming? Why are you not breaking through? What is stopping you from breaking through within these relationships? Because that is being projected over right now to Aries and asking it why, so that you can properly communicate it and make it change. However, it's under the challenges. It's not meant to be easy, honey. Now you've got positives. You've got Scorpio. And Scorpio is the universal 8th house that speaks to everything that the relationships own and what they are responsible for with Jupiter. And that is your higher knowledge, your higher abundance. It is like the magnet. It is growth knowledge. Okay, and it is in the universal 8th house of Scorpio where the mystery of birth, death, and rebirth takes place, along with how it is the relationships are ran. What is it that that relationship owns? What is responsible to the relationship? The money is, the sex is in your relationship, children, child support, the bills, things that the relationship owns, the things that the relationship itself is responsible for, is speaking in a positive way to Chiron. So this is, and that move of Mercury and Venus into Aries, that first house. This is a positive time to be able to communicate these, as long as you're doing it honestly with your soulfulness intended, basically, of your senses. Use Venus's energy here. Use Venus's energy to tell you when you're going about it the wrong way or how to finesse it the right way, basically, because that's what's going to help make that abundance grow, so that that healing can take place, so that the proper energies of the death, the birth, the death, and the rebirth can start to make that new cycle in a proper way in both the 8th house and the first house universally. So this is talking about relationships, the cycles, and a cycle in general starting all over. It's a cycle you're in as well as a cycle beginning. You're also talking about Uranus in Aries is going to be trining Sagittarius, Mars. Trining Sagittarius, the universal 9th house, again, where Mars and Vesta is. Mars and Vista, again. Mars is your fire, aggression, passion, action. It is your warrior. But you also have Vista, which is your home, your soul fire, your heart, the hearth. And they are speaking to your higher self of what it is you need and how can you get that and why you need it. And they're speaking directly across to Uranus about how you can individually make that happen. You can ultimately create it by finding and exploring and exercising within your life your freedom, your independence, your inventive self. How are you going to bring that into your soulfulness and make your Vista and your Mars work in a powerful way for you, for your higher self? Okay? Because that's what this is all about. It's your soul fire is coming through this week and asking you, basically, it's asking you to work on your soul maturity this week. Now, hey, where did my other piece of paper go? You also have the sextiles this week. And, but before I hit the sextiles, we also have this. This is an important one that most people aren't going to see. Jupiter and Scorpio are sextiling Libra, which is where Maki Maki is. That is that lotus flower. And it is sextiling the North Node in Leo. This is speaking to you of being able to create and create it in a positive way of service so that you can move forward in life. Because the North Node is about, if you don't get what the North Node is teaching, then you ain't moving forward. Period. That's what the North Node is. The North Node is about what is it that needs to be taught in order to move forward, because without learning it, you can't move forward. And Jupiter is speaking to you again about your mystery of that universal 8th house, but it's speaking to us of the relationships and what they own, but within a way of bringing abundance to it, bringing higher knowledge to it, as well as bringing in Scorpio's energy the ability for birth, death, and rebirth, so that we can let that lotus flower in Libra of that 7th house of the relationships, because relationships is everything. And how can we overcome the muddy, murky water? How can we get out of the swamp, break ourselves into the fresh air, and learn how to bloom again? Basically. And it is speaking to us in that creativity of finding the proper creativity and imaginative energy, and the way, how can we bring service into something we enjoy, is what this is about. How can the king of the jungle in Leo bring this service into something that you can enjoy, something that you want to be part of, and it's healthy for you and healthy for them? This is about overcoming it in the positive, creative fire way, because you've got 2 fires speaking to water. So it's the 2 fires fueling that healing so that it can take place. Now you also have Saturn this week in Capricorn in the universal 10th house, again, of our outer world and our careers and our goals, is speaking to Chiron again in Mercury and Venus. So like I said, it's everything about this week has to do with Mercury, Venus, and Chiron. The end, the beginning, the communication, the sensitivity, and are you using it to charm your way positively through it, or are you listening to where Venus is telling you, no, this is just not ever going to work? And are you building the proper rules and boundaries as we create these new ones so that we can move forward in a new, positive, healthy cycle? Because that's what it's all coming down to, period. No matter how many directions, how many different aspects I read, this is what it's coming down to. It has to do with soulfully maturing for a new cycle. I love you. Hugs and kisses, babies. I'll see you next week.